it's like my life sort of flashed before my eyes, and the next thing you know, I'm on the floor on my knees in bits. I didn't want to move my leg. I didn't know how bad it was, and I'm just like, God, this is not good. And like, I had so many different emotions just rush into my head at one point. I didn't really know what to focus on. I didn't know what to think. I was kind of at that point just in a massive black hole in my head. I didn't really know what was going on at the time. My name is Modestas Bukauskas. I'm a professional mixed martial artist fighting out of Northwest London, and my record is 19-6. Yeah, so in 2020, I literally just signed with the UFC. I had one win, got the 50 grand bonus, absolutely amazing. Couldn't have started off my UFC career in a better way. I ended up jumping up, like having quite a big step up in competition, fighting a ranked guy for my second fight, ended up losing that one. And then in 2021, I fought Michal Oleksiejczuk at the beginning of the year. Very close fight. A lot of people thought I won that fight. Split decision, lost. And then I was gearing up to fight Khalil Rountree for my second fight in 2021. So 2021 was sort of a year to start off like, this is on my path of redemption. I need to try and make a name for myself. Obviously, having that loss against Michal didn't really put me in a good position in terms of the UFC and sort of getting myself to go up in the ranks and make a statement like I wanted to. So really, it was just all about trying to get a win streak going again, because having a couple of losses is obviously never good as an MMA fighter. So I wanted to try and rewrite the script and sort of flip the script and change it towards a winning record. So that was the focus for me in 2021.
So 4th of September 2021, UFC Fight Night 919, scheduled to fight Khalil Rountree at the Apex.
Yeah.
At the time going into the fight, what was your sort of assessment of Khalil as a fighter?
He's had a very up and down career. He's had a very turbulent career up until that point in terms of like gathering his thoughts mentally, like having the right training processes and stuff like this. So he would come out with some absolutely spectacular performances, knocking out Gokhan Saki, and then next thing, he's also knocked out Paul Craig as well. But then he had a couple of losses. He's had a very sort of up and down career. So I kind of thought, judging by how he had fought before and sort of the mental state that he was in, that it would be a fight that I could easily go in, and as long as my head was on point and I was fighting to the best of my abilities, that should be a comfortable win for me. Whether it be within the rounds or 3 rounds, and I can go on and try and, like I say, make a bit of redemption for me in my UFC career. And unfortunately, it didn't go that way. When it got into the fight, he just turned up a completely different fighter. Like everything that we had watched on film. This is why, you can watch people as much as you want on film, but it just depends how they turn up on the day. And you've got to be prepared for that. You've got to be prepared for a kind of switching or a turning of the tides, you know what I mean? Anything can happen in there, and you've got to be ready for whatever's set in front of you at the time. Is being able to adapt on the fly that makes the best fighters who they are. So, on the night, he turned up a completely different beast, and unfortunately I was on the other end of that.
Going into the second round, during the corner, how are you feeling at that point? What are you thinking? Are you thinking, oh, he has turned up different to what I was expecting at this point?
Oh, 100%. He turned up a completely different beast to what I'd expected. Everything that I'd practiced or tried to sort of get going in the fight just wasn't working. Every time I threw something that I thought was going to land, he ended up countering me. He's a very heavy hitter, very powerful, very explosive, and all the shots that he landed me with obviously did a lot of damage. He broke my nose pretty much with the first punch. Yeah, and I couldn't really get anything going. I felt like I was slowly starting to find my rhythm and range, sort of going into that second round. But ultimately, yeah, Khalil was very in control. And yeah, I just felt like nothing I could do. I couldn't do anything right in that fight up until that point. Yeah, he definitely came out of different animals. I mean, even in the fight, obviously I've made a lot of changes since then, but I came out in a very boxing, in a very boxing heavy stance, which he noticed that, he identified that obviously with his corner, and he saw that I had a very side-on stance. So, and I was very heavy on that front foot, and I wasn't throwing too many like crazy kicks or anything. So he noticed that. The first time I moved out of the way because I could see it coming, but the second time he just timed it perfectly as I was jabbing. So as I was jabbing, all my weight on that front foot, and literally as I landed my foot and sort of missed the jab, he went for that side kick, and yeah, it was all like a massive blur. It almost felt like you're in there, and like it's like my life sort of flashed before my eyes, and the next thing you know, I'm on the floor on my knees in bits. So it was like very weird. Everything happened so quickly. I didn't really understand what was going on. It was a really weird feeling, but obviously a very dark and horrible moment at the same time, because I didn't want to move my leg. I didn't know how bad it was, and I'm just like, God, this is not good. And like I had so many different emotions just rush into my head at one point. I didn't really know what to focus on. I didn't know what to think. I was kind of at that point just in a massive black hole in my head. I didn't really know what was going on at the time.
Could you feel the pain? Was the pain? Yeah.
I didn't want to bend my leg. I didn't want to move it. They got it in like a cast straight away, and I was kind of limping on it. I mean, as the day went on, and then on to the next day when I went home, like I was able to like put weight on it. Clearly it was like badly damaged, but yeah, at the time I just didn't know how. I just really didn't know how bad it was, and it was just, yeah, it was horrible just having that sense of not really knowing what's next, and not knowing how bad this whole situation is and how bad the knee is. So I kind of just was hoping that we'll be able to get everything sorted very quickly so that I can just get back to full health. Like I just didn't know how bad it was, and when like I say, you can't maneuver your leg the way that you want to, obviously it's just not it's not a very comforting feeling. I would like to add as well, actually, that not a lot of people know, because I don't really like to go on about that kind of stuff, because it wouldn't have changed the result of the fight anyways. You know, a lot of times people talk about injuries that they go into fights with, but you know, I kind of stayed very quiet. Do you know what? I figured I might as well tell the full story, exactly how it is, because you know, people who want to know a little bit more about it, they might as well see the full landscape of just how bad that whole situation was. But 10 weeks out from the fight, I was training, I was doing wrestling, and I had a crunch in my knee. And then I went to obviously go and get an MRI done with my knee doctor, who took me through the whole process, absolutely amazing, and actually did the surgery for me when you know, after the fight. But I had 2 torn meniscuses, 75% torn ACL, and a badly damaged MCL already going into that fight. I remember I was just working with my physio to try and make sure that I could just get into the fight. The doctor on the phone told me, he said, judging by how strong your knee is and how, because he's worked with me before and your muscles are keeping everything in place, you can fight. Would I advise you to? No, but you will be able, it will hold up for the fight, and we can get it sorted straight away after. And obviously me being the fighter that I am, I was like, okay, if the doctor says that I can do it, I'll do it. And obviously money was quite tight at the time. I needed to make money, and I figured, you know what I mean, you go out there, you put on a good win, you know, you'll be able to set yourself up a little bit better, and you'll be able to, you know, get out of this little bit of a hole financially that you're in. So there's so many different things, and obviously I just thought that I could win the fight, you know, regardless of whether I had a knee injury or not. I thought, do you know what, I'm gonna make the most out of this situation. I did swimming instead of running. You know, my strength training, I just didn't go with heavier weights and extended ranges of motion. And I was able to spar and do stuff like, yeah, sometimes I couldn't go in certain positions, but it didn't mean that I couldn't train to the best of my ability. So, but obviously I went in with a really bad knee injury already to begin with. So, you know, when the injury actually happened, it's like, I think it was almost inevitable, and it just amplified everything that was bad in the knee already. And yeah, perhaps if I didn't have those bad injuries beforehand, maybe I would have been able to take the side kick, but then again, maybe not. So yeah, it was just a massively dark time before the fight, in the fight, and after the fight. There was literally no brightness during that whole period of my life.
At what point did you sort of find out the extent of the injury then?
So when I got home, I got an MRI done. I went to see my doctors. They basically told me that both meniscuses had torn even worse on that one knee, and one of them actually tore off the bone. The ACL was literally, there was one fiber, one half of a fiber left holding it together. So it was pretty much fully torn, and then the MCL was fully torn. And the fact that my knee was still like stable, like, well, I say stable, I was still able to walk on it and stuff like that, is quite surprising. But this is why the doctor told me, he said, your leg muscles are holding everything in place. So that actually gave me the best chances of recovering fully, is that the fact that I had so much, obviously it deteriorated because I wasn't using my muscles, but that's what made sure that I was able to sort of protect my knee as much as possible. So yeah, it was a pretty bad injury.
What was the UFC's response then, 2 months after the injury?
Obviously they covered my injury because it happened in the fight, which is absolutely amazing. I've got to thank them massively. Like, you know, people say, oh, they do take care of their fights because it's a very expensive operation. They covered everything for it. They covered the physio, they covered the surgery itself, the aftercare. So, you know, that was absolutely amazing of them to be able to do that for me. You know, a couple months down the line, obviously I was still motivated to that hopefully they'll still see the talent in me and see the potential in me, that they'll want to keep me signed, that, oh, they'll wait till I recover from this injury and then, you know, like I say, get back on the horse essentially. But yeah, 2 months down the line, they essentially, I found out on Twitter, I saw it said Modestas Bukauskas had been removed from the UFC rankings pool, and then about 5 minutes later, I called my manager. I said, "Is this true?" And he says, "Yeah, no, unfortunately, it's happened." But it was horrible to think that the massive dream that I've been dreaming of this whole time, like even as a kid, and like when you start in MMA, and like that's the real massive goal, is to just, you know, get into the UFC and then become a champion and stuff like this, like. And you realise like the curtain being closed on that dream for the time being. It was obviously absolutely horrible. That I was very depressed. There was a lot of days where I'll be drinking myself to sleep, and it was mad because I was just going on my YouTube, just trying to record videos, just to try and keep myself occupied. Try and, you know, also just to tally up the story as well, because I knew that when I look back on this, it's going to mean something, you know. That's why I decided to like record stuff early on to show people like what I'm sort of going through. At the time, no one gave a crap, but as time has gone on, and now I've started doing more things in my career, more people are starting to pay attention. But I knew that was going to happen. I already had it in my head that this was going to happen. How shit of a story would it have been if everything would have just ended right there? Oh, you know, Cage Warriors champ, got to UFC, 50 grand bonus. Loses 3 fights, gets cut. That's it. Story's over. What crap story. Like, people will go to the cinema and think, what? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that was a rubbish film, do you know what I mean? Like, it started off really well, but why did it just end there? Yeah, as terrible as that situation was, 2 months in, you know, drinking myself to sleep, not wanting to be in the world. Like, I just kind of felt like I needed an escape. I didn't want to have to think about how bad the situation was. I just wanted to go away from the world. The only way to do that was by drinking. Then that way, I can make myself a little bit happier, and I don't actually have to think about what's going on right now. And it's almost like it gave me like a smoke screen over how bad I was feeling. Obviously, slowly I managed to get over that. But yeah, it's just, everything just seemed, the whole world just seemed to fall on top of me. But I never once, especially my dad as well, he was always there for me. Straight away when he heard that I got cut, he was just like, all right, well, we just got to train harder. Like, that was literally his first response was, well, we just got to bloody train harder. And at the time, obviously, I was still recovering from my knee, and like, you know, obviously he was just thinking, why the hell does this have to happen to my son? Like, I just wanted him to go out and achieve all these things, but why does he have to always go through the tough way? So that's why he was just like, you know, emotional and kind of intense, because he's like, why the hell does this have to happen to him? But we're gonna bloody prove them all wrong. And, you know, we've been there together like since day one. So it's been an incredible journey, that's for sure.
Some people rely on things to sort of block out the reality of their life, and they can't ever get away from that. they can't ever get away from that blocking things out. So how did you take yourself out of that hole?
You can only control what you can control, right? Like things that are out of your control, you can't be bothering about that. But what can you control? What can you change? What can you do? So obviously, for a long time, I couldn't really do. I could still do exercises. I could still do certain movement. I was still training from sitting down. Like this is the thing. Me and my dad were like literally in the gym, punching with dumbbells from me sitting down, punching with gloves on pads. Lifting kettlebells up and doing all these exercises whilst I couldn't use, okay, I can't use my lower body, but what about my upper body? Why not train that instead? Like, so I was just finding ways to overcome the situation, what it was. Do what you can do, you know what I mean? And slowly working day by day. And then as the knees slowly start getting better, it's okay, do the next level of your physio, do the next level of those exercises, do them every single day. What can I control? I can control doing the exercises or not. Okay, so I'm gonna do that every single day. What can you control? Looking at techniques, thinking about the techniques that you're gonna be doing. Like even just like thinking about like, you know, wrestling moves or, you know, watching fighting film and stuff like this. Like these are all things that you can do. They say the power of the mind is absolutely incredible, and it is. Like the fact that you can go over something in your mind, it's almost as if your body is doing it. Like it's been scientifically proven and backed. And at the time, I just did it because I just wanted something else to focus on. But that was helping me to basically come back to training as if I never left, because I was still going through it. Like the nervous system and all the fibers are still working just from your mind, from your brain. You know, people that are sort of they can't see a way out, or they're you know. Like you said, oh, like how do you make it look? So it was extremely difficult, but it was just like, what can I do every day to make myself better? What is one thing that I can do, and just focus on that. You don't have to focus on doing a million different things. It's all about what's one thing I can do to get myself better for the next day. And even just having like a to-do list, like on my board, I would write, okay, I need to do this, because that's all I can control. If those are the things that I can control, I'm gonna go and do that. And it just, slowly you just realize you just got to tally up over time, day by day. You know, a week turns into a month, you know, like things, a month turns into 2 months and then 3, and by the end of it, you're like, oh my gosh, I've like gotten so much further than where I was before. And slowly you're like looking at it in the rear view mirror, thinking like, you know, I'm so much further ahead just because I've been plotting this whole time, and I've just been working on what I can do whilst other things aren't available to me. So it's controlling what you can control. I knew that I'd have to go and fight somewhere else. There were certain opportunities that were presented to me, and I thought, oh, we could do this, and then those things fell through, and then time just kept going and going and going, and I thought, like, you know, where am I gonna fight? Like, I kind of don't know what's going on here. And then my manager just goes, listen, Cage Warriors have offered you this deal. I think we should take it, and this is probably the best route for you to get back to the UFC. At first I thought, oh, like, you know, you want like a change of scenery, a change of venue, but then I thought, you know what, Cage Warriors have always like taken care of me. We're just gonna go back there and you know, make things happen there. So although it wasn't necessarily the route that I would have wanted to take, because, you know, you want something fresh and new, like I've already been there, I've already, you know, defended the belt, like why do I need to go back there again? But actually it's actually cemented and made my legacy even better by going back there and doing what I did when I got back there. So yeah, it was a process, but I did feel that I absolutely had to win these fights, but at the same time, I already knew that I was going to win these fights. I had an aura or a presence of, I've already won these fights. This is just like the steps I need to take to get back to the UFC. That's where I'm supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be in the UFC. So I kind of already felt in my head, these fights have already been won. What I realized is that I made so many mistakes in my training. This is why I'm happy that all these bad things have happened, because it just opened the doors as to what you need to improve in your training, in your life, in order to make yourself the athlete that you're supposed to be. And all the things that I've been working on, when I went back to Cage Warriors, it was on show. People were like, he's a completely different fighter. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. There were so many things that I needed to work on and tweak and change and improve, like mentally, physically, that you know, already when I went in there, I was sort of, there wasn't any pressure, because I kind of expected myself to go out there and perform. You know, my mindset had changed, my training had changed. I was just a much better fighter. I just had to go out there and prove myself. So for me, it wasn't pressure. It was almost like, I know how good I am. I just got to go out and show it. And it was almost kind of like I expected myself to win. So I just went out there and fought with an aura of I'd already won, and that's what gave me those performances.
So you win the light heavyweight belt again. What happens next?
After that knockout, I was fully expecting, you know, to get a call to the UFC, like thinking like on New Year's, like everyone been watching it, like mad views on everywhere, like even on UFC Fight Pass and stuff like this on Instagram, TikTok. And then the call wasn't coming. There was no call. There was just me training, me trying to get better, me just living my life, doing the same thing that I'd had to get used to when I didn't have any fights until I fought back at Cage Warriors. That's one thing I want to mention, is that I had to just learn to enjoy the process of training. When there isn't a fight coming up, you just got to learn to go day by day and just embrace everything that's going on, and embrace the learning process, embrace the developmental aspect of the game, which has made things better for me later in my career, because I was forced to sort of go through that. But yeah, so essentially there was no call. So I ended up going out on the weekend because I thought I've got nothing booked, there's nothing going on. So me and Will, one of my friends, we just went out and got absolutely like blacked out wasted. Like you know, I'd stayed around his house, I was literally absolutely hanging the next morning. But so I was still training hard, but still like kind of just enjoying my life a little bit. And then on the Wednesday, so the following Wednesday, I got a call from a manager saying, all right, so you've got so by this point I'd just won the Cage Warriors belt. And then he goes, all right, so we've got a fight for you. You're going to defend your belt in March. I was like, okay, cool. I said, listen, if the UFC don't want me yet, I'll go and prove myself once again. It's just another thing that I've got to go and do on the way to achieving what I want. So at first it was a little bit disheartening, I guess you could say, thinking that, you know, I wasn't wanted yet. But at the same time, I was like, this part of the process. If this is what I have to go through, this is what I have to go through. I went to training. I came home late at night at 10:30, and I get another call from my manager, and a video call as well. Normally I don't get that, but I was completely oblivious. I didn't know. I pulled over to the side of the road, and he goes, hey man, how you doing? I'm like, yeah, doing all right, just coming back home from training. What's your weight looking like? I said, I'm about 217, 218, like, you know, so I'm you know, I'm pretty light, to be fair. He goes, you're fighting in Australia in 2 weeks. I said, wait, what? And he goes, you're back in the UFC. I was like, what? Like I just couldn't believe it. I literally started screaming like on the phone. My manager, you could see how happy he was for me. I started crying because I was like, what in the world? Like, completely from thinking that I was gonna fight in Cage Warriors to in the evening, literally just a complete change of events, that I'm fighting in the UFC in 2 weeks' time in Australia against Tyson Pedro. And I was like, this is actually like absolutely mad. Like, I was just telling him how much I thanked him for believing in me and for always being there like by my side. And when I was driving back home, because I was about 5 minutes from home, because I had to stop off to the side because there's no signal. So as soon as I got off the phone with him and I got back home, I literally was playing like this Witcher freaking war music, and I was just screaming. I had my window open. I don't know what the neighbors must have been thinking, but I was literally just screaming my arse off through this window, thinking, yes! Like going absolutely mad. And I was almost like, you know when you're drunk, you have a bit of a buzz feeling, but it was like amplified. It was like weird. I drove back to my house just here. I pulled up and I felt weird. Like, I felt like the ground was like kind of shaking underneath me. Like, my body was like kind of jittering. Like, it was just, I almost like had to touch myself. I'm like, is this even real? And then, yeah, I went upstairs because obviously my stepmom and my dad were upstairs. And I told my stepmom, Rose, I say, listen, I've got something really big to tell you. And then she was like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I don't know what this is that he's got. And then I went to the room next door where my dad was in, and he literally was just about getting into bed, pretty much from having a hard day of work. And I go, Dad, you've got to come into the sitting room. I've got to tell you something. He's like, what the fuck? I just got into bed, you know. And then yeah, and then obviously I told him that I got back into the UFC. And it's funny because, again, my dad's reaction was like, at first he was like, why the hell are we going to Australia? It's like all the way on the other side of the world. But it's like he expected it to happen, you know? Like he knew that was going to happen. And obviously, don't get me wrong, that we were like extremely happy. We were like jumping around, we were like hugging each other, like, do you know what I mean? Like all like happy faces and like, but Dad was like already like plotting. He was already planning like how we're going to beat this guy, what we're going to do in these next 2 weeks, how we're going to like change. Because I was already in great shape, but like how we're going to adjust things so that we're going to be ready for the fight. He was already on the war path, on war mode. He was just ready to get on with the task. Obviously, it was like a massive celebration, but yeah, I obviously couldn't sleep. I was just sitting there with my dad, with my stepmom, and we just like in awe, like in this aura of just like happiness that I can't even really describe, because who would have thought? Like it's almost like a fairy tale story. So I'm like, now's my chance to really let people know who I am and let people know my story. Now's a chance for people to really start noticing, and that's when it started from Australia when I got re-signed.
So how does it feel to be sat here now on a 4-fight win streak in the UFC, having just fought on a main card, and obviously now looking towards a ranked opponent for your next fight? How does that feel?
This is all the combination of all of the hard work. Essentially, this is what everything, how I'd imagine it in my head that it was gonna happen, because of how hard I've been working in the training room, all the adjustments that I've been making, all the things that I've been doing inside the cage and outside the cage to make me the athlete that I am, and for the potential as well. Like people always said, like you could be so good, or like this guy's like really good in the gym, but why isn't he thrown out there on the stage under those bright lights? And it's like, this is who I'm supposed to be. This is the potential that I'm now living up to. This is always the man that I expected that I was going to go and be. So it's almost like it feels natural and normal, because I knew that I was capable of doing this, and I know that I'm capable of even more. It's just having to find the adjustments or find the things that I needed to do in order to get there. God does not give you what you want until you are the man that is ready to take on those challenges. So clearly at the time I wasn't ready. As much as I thought in my head I was ready, I wasn't ready. But then I look back at it now and think, do you know what? Okay. He wanted me to learn these lessons. He wanted me to go through all these struggles emotionally, physically, in order for me to be prepared to be the man that is ready to actually achieve the things that he wants me to achieve, which is to be the world champion, you know? And I'm on the right track. My next fight will be a top 15 opponent. 4-fight win streak in the UFC is a massive feat for anyone. You know, so I'm obviously very proud of myself, but I know there's plenty more to do, you know. I'm extremely happy about the position that I'm in, but I also understand that I need to step my game up even more. That's why I'm training so hard, and I haven't even got a fight booked. So, and obviously helping out like teammates and stuff like that. But in order to stay relevant in this game and to not get left behind, you've got to make sure you're constantly evolving. So that's all I can control right now. But obviously, to be in the situation where I am now, it's everything I expected to happen. It's just a case of, I didn't know when it was going to happen. I didn't know how long it was going to take, but I just knew it was going to happen. So I always had belief in myself. My dad and my family have always had belief in me. It was just a case about just making it happen. So yeah, now we're on that. I feel like it's almost like the story's already been written in my head. It's just about just slowly unraveling the pages. It's like I'm reading the book that's already finished, and I'm just turning the pages and uncovering the story, because I knew that this is where I was supposed to be.
Is the Khalil rematch something that features in that story?
100%, 100%. The Khalil rematch is something that I've been envisioning this whole time, because people aren't going to forget about the injury until I'll go back in there and fight him again. Then it will really become present, like, oh, well, now they're fighting here and there. Yeah, everyone's going to know about the story, but the narrative is always going to be the guy that got injured by Khalil Rountree with the side kick to the knee. Until I go in there and prove myself and do what I'm going to do, the story won't change. And that's my way to flip the script and to really rewrite history. That's my way of rewriting history. And not only that, that will make the comeback story really mean something. That's when almost the comeback story is about 95% complete, but that fight is part of the story. That fight needs to happen, and we're working our way towards that. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. But that fight needs to happen in order for everything that I've been working for to be solidified and for it to mean something, and for me to show people that the thing that I wanted to do was to show people that anyone could come back from adversity, and that is part of the story, the rematch. It's almost like Rocky losing the first time to Clubber Lang and then coming back and winning. So, and that's what made the story so sick. That rematch is going to make all the difference. And to see the man that has changed from who I was back then, almost like a boy in my head, to now like a man who's ready to take on the world and do the things that he's supposed to do, and go out and get that win, you know, and get that back, rewrite history, and go towards the fight that everyone would be afraid of. Go towards the path that people wouldn't expect you. Well, why do you need to rematch that guy again? Well, no, I need to rematch this guy. And it's funny how a lot more in the comments people have been mentioning this to happen. So, like I say, the comeback story is not fully complete until I rematch him and I'm beaten. So that's the kind of, that's where I'm leaning towards.
Finally, what would your advice be to people that are going through dark times, potentially the darkest they've ever faced, the biggest adversity?
Yeah, my advice to those people is that, like, literally, you just got to keep going. A lot of times people think that they can't get out of a situation, or they stop believing themselves. The thing is, you've almost got to be delusional. Or, well, from the outside looking in, it looks delusional, but for you, whatever vision is in your head, you can make that happen. It's just down to you. It's just down to how hard you want to push yourself. You've got to be able to sacrifice. You've got to be able to take yourself to places, other places mentally. Like, you might be in a deep hole and dark place mentally, but you've got to take yourself into almost like a different place that's also very difficult to get yourself out of there, you know? And it's what can you do day by day to make yourself better, to help yourself get out of this place, you know? If you're, like, you know, heavily drinking, like, let's say you have 10 drinks every day. Okay, well, how about I work towards doing like 9 or 8 drinks every day, and then slowly start cutting that down. It's like, what can I do every single day to go towards the goal of achieving that big grand finale at the end? What can you do day by day that's going to get, and that's essentially what I've done, you know? All I focused on was, what can I do every single day? How can I make this day good in order to make the days of tomorrow and the future even better? What can I start with today? And it's just about starting. You just got to go for it. You can't let bad situations or really depressing times like take over your life. It will only take over your life if you want to. Everyone has that power within. It's about unlocking it. It's like this big ball or ray of sunshine that's like literally like locked in like a cupboard of darkness, and all you got to do is just slowly open that cupboard, and as soon as that cupboard comes open, you've got the ability to do anything that you want, and you will also become that person that you're supposed to be by going through the trials and tribulations of getting out of this situation. So you're going to be the person that you want to be. You just have to go through the journey and whatever it takes, and just keep focusing on the end goal, and do what you can day by day. That's probably what I would say to and advise to people that are like completely down in the dumps. And just be around people that you love, that love you. Speak good about yourself, you know, and just realize that you have the power within. Like I said, this ball of ray of sunshine, everyone's got it. You just got to unlock that power, and the only way is to really and truly believe in yourself, and just know that you can do it. And if you can't do it at the beginning, don't worry, because you work at it, soon enough you will be able to do it. You just got to believe in yourself. I feel like people these days don't believe in themselves enough. So what I'll just say is, just believe in yourself. You can do anything. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're going to be doing plenty more things on this channel, and I'm really excited to have you guys along for the journey.